You enter the exam hall. You open your English paper and you look at the question being asked. While you're still wondering how in the world you're going to answer that question, you look to your right and you see this crazy chica who's done with her first paragraph. Now, how in the world did that happen? It's been 5 minutes. But little did you know, to the left of you, another more crazy chica is done with her first page and is almost done with her first paragraph on the second page. So while you're still sitting there, blank, staring at your blank paper, what thoughts come in your mind? Well, here's what I usually think. I'm wasting time and I need to start writing because by the looks of it, I've wasted 7 minutes and I'm not going to waste any more. So I start off with my introduction, the same lines I've been using for the last 2 years in the program. 1984 was written by renowned author George Orwell. It was written in 1949, blah, 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 blah. Hamlet was written by William Shakespeare, blah, blah, blah. And then to end the introduction, I kind of just restate the exam question. And then after that, you go on to your body. And the first few paragraphs are always easy, right? You can finish them fast and strong. But I think a lot of us notice that by the fourth or the fifth paragraph, that's when things kind of get a bit hard because you're kind of struggling with what to say. You want to write something, but you're not really sure if it's related to your essay. And then you kind of wonder when you don't know what to write if you pick the correct question, and then you're kind of getting stressed. And then with all this time being wasted thinking and getting stressed, you realize time's being wasted and you gotta write. So then you force yourself to write, and you force yourself to write with whatever points you know. And then after you force yourself to get the next paragraph out, again you're back to square one and you struggle to get the next paragraph out. And it's this process of just getting by, writing, getting by. It repeats until the end of your essay. And the worst part about this is that after the end of your exam, when there's no more stress, a ton of better quotes and points that you know come flooding in your mind. But then you realize, I just forgot to mention them. I knew them, but I forgot to mention them. And that just feels terrible because it means that you could have done a much better essay. I'm going to show you how to avoid all these problems with one of the most simple yet powerful tips I can ever tell you. And that's to plan your essay. Planning your essay is one of the most underrated things you can do because you're essentially writing the first draft of your essay in a very minimalistic way. You get to spot weaknesses in your essay well before you've written anything. You prevent wasting time by writing something and canceling it, and also you make sure that you're hitting all the important points that you want to make. When people think of planning, they think like 8 to 10 minutes of just roughly thinking and outlining what you want to say. No, I'm talking about a solid 25-minute block of planning your entire essay before you even start writing your introduction. 25 minutes, that seems like a lot of time devoted to not writing. But think about it. It takes at least 4 to 5 minutes of thinking for you to write a good paragraph. And if you have an essay with at least 6 paragraphs, that in itself is 20 minutes. So you're just moving all those small dispersed thinking time into one block in the beginning and adding extra 5 minutes. And really, you get to think about your essay deeply for 25 uninterrupted minutes of making connections. You're in your flow state and you're really creating the best layout of your essay that you can possibly make. There are just so many advantages of planning, and I'm going to show you exactly how in the most simple and natural way possible. And all it takes is 5 simple steps. So the first step is to answer the question. So for paper 1 or paper 2, you have guiding questions that your essay is supposed to essentially answer. And all you have to do for the first step is answer that question in a short and concise way. So pretend this was a guiding question. What do you think of John? And this is what I think of John. John is the weirdest dude I've ever met. And honestly, I think by the end of this video, you're going to agree with me. So that's the first step. Answer the question in a short and concise way. The second step is really simple, and this should come naturally. Ask yourself, why do you believe that one-line answer? Because you either got that out of the top of your head or you thought about it. So what factors did you consider that led you to believe this statement? And here's the important part. Write those reasons down horizontally. So John does gross things, he makes people uncomfortable, and he doesn't get the way things work. All valid reasons why I would believe this one-line answer that I made. Now the third step, where's the proof? Give a specific incident. Anybody can say anything about anyone. Where's the evidence that give these 3 reasons credibility? So these are some of the things that I saw John do that led me to these 3 reasons. He picks his nose and eats it. He doesn't let people leave a conversation, and if they do, he kind of follows them. And he goes to dinners that he's not invited to just because he saw them on a Snapchat story. These specific instances definitely show these 3 reasons, and that's kind of what we're going for, finding evidence that gives credibility to these 3 reasons. The fourth step is very simple. You need to explain the connection between this and this. In other words, Why does going to dinners you're not invited to just because you saw it on Snapchat mean that you don't get the way things work? Why does picking your nose and eating it mean that you're a person that does gross things? Well, that's simple, because picking your nose and eating shows that you're unhygienic and unhealthy. A Snapchat story isn't an open invitation, and people have tried to talk to him about it, but he doesn't want to change. And honestly, if you're not allowing people to leave a conversation, it comes off as, needy and annoying, and that's not something that people like. So you notice what I've basically done. I've just basically explained how does this little incident lead to this statement that I believe about John, that he doesn't get the way things work. You're just explaining the connection between this and this. So now the fifth step. We showed how this example links to a reason. But here's the thing. How does this lead to this? In other words, why do these three reasons lead to support that overarching claim that I made in the beginning, that one-line answer? How does being gross mean that he's weird? How does making people uncomfortable mean that you're weird? The fifth step is proving that your reasons link to that one-line answer you gave. And these are the reasons I feel that, these three reasons link up to my first answer. Because people outgrow such a childish behavior, when they're 12, 13, but he's 25, and he's very public when he does something like this. And his inability to grasp common social norms, even after people repeatedly tell him, hey, what you're doing is not okay, it gives off that weird vibe. And also, when you're refusing to change, even though people are telling you, hey, you're not invited to this dinner, it shows that you have issues. And basically what I've written over here aims to show the connection between these three reasons and the first one-line answer that I give. And that's basically it. And I want you to notice what we did. We had a question. We gave a short but concise answer to that question, or what is formally known as a thesis statement. We had a reason for that answer, some evidence to back it up, explain how this evidence leads to this reason, and in the end linked up everything to our overarching claim of the essay. In other words, we can kind of label this as point, evidence, explanation, and link. Feel is a very popular way to write English paragraph. A point, or a reason why we believe our thesis, an example which we use, quotes for evidence to back up, explaining that example and then linking it with our overarching claim of our essay. So regardless if you follow the structure in writing, in the planning stage, it lays out a lot of the essentials for a paragraph, and you've effectively planned out what you have to say for that paragraph. In fact, we've planned out our essay for 3 paragraphs. And you kind of see how natural this is. You basically have a claim and you're just kind of devoting a really detailed answer to proving that claim. By doing this, we already have a very basic idea of how our essay, devoted to proving that John is really weird, would look, or at least the way we plan to develop those major points. And this is exactly the same if we did it for an actual question like this. So this is a May 2015 question, and you see how easy it is to plan an essay. Even what I've done here is too much detail. What we want is what we did before. What we want is just to plan the bare bones, the bare essentials of our essay. And you kind of see that this follows the same structure. A point, an evidence, which we normally use codes for in English, explaining that evidence, and then linking all of this to our overarching claim. Just like that, we've planned out our entire essay. And just think about the advantages of doing something like this. You can see ahead of time whether you have enough points to support an answer. How many of us have chosen to answer a question, written 600 words, we're halfway of our essay, and realize we don't have anything more to write? And we're kind of screwed because it turns out that our text and our answer and the question aren't really a great match for each other. And with this, you can look at your essay from a vantage point and see whether you have enough strong points and then make adjustments accordingly. You can also detect problems with your essay early. Maybe with the points we made, it didn't give us a chance to include stylistic features. Maybe we couldn't include context or author's intent. So now that we know what our essay is going to be like, we can change our points in our essay before we've even started to write about those points. Maybe it turns out that our essay is in balance and we have more points for only one text. And we can see these things early and act accordingly, right? We can avoid writing something, realizing it's bad, and then canceling it with a strike and then replacing it, which is a complete waste of time. One really important benefit is this over here. It allows you to figure out your essay in advance so you can write a proper introduction. Because the point of an introduction is to literally introduce what you're going to say in your essay. But you can't do that unless you know what you're going to say. And I've heard of kids who come into the exam room with their pre-written paragraphs that they're experienced IB teacher told them to memorize, or they use the same perfect introduction paragraph that they made before the exam, and they use this regardless of the question. Now, how effective do you think that is in showing the examiner the point of your essay? Because planning actually allows you to mold your introduction to your essay. And consider this, there's a lot of evidence that shows that examiners only look at your introduction and your conclusion to give your grade. For example, my English teacher, who was an English examiner, told me that he just reads the introduction, the conclusion, and then he barely skims the body. Trust me, write an introduction that actually introduces your essay, and that's going to help the examiner to view your essay in a much more positive light. So really, the whole point of this is that planning lets you take a step back, look at your essay from a vantage point that lets you see your essay as a whole, and sort out everything beforehand. And then after that, it's all about elaborating and expanding when you actually write your essay. And trust me, you write things so fast and so seamlessly after you've planned everything out. Sure, like in the original example, your friends will be ahead of you initially, but it's like my English teacher says, and this is a guy that I truly respect. He said, it's better to write 800 words of quality than 1200 words of garbage. And this is something that I remembered as I was planning, and I looked to the right and I looked to the left, and people were already finishing their first pages. Here's one thing to keep in mind. If let's say you're 10 minutes in and you just can't think of anything, you can't even write a one-line answer, you're just blank. You don't want to be that guy who couldn't plan for 25 minutes, and then in a rush, you have to write an essay without a plan and without time. So to counteract this, whatever your thoughts are as you're thinking, keep on writing them on paper. Even if they're dumb, just keep on writing. The more you write down, the more you have a basis to look back later, and the more momentum you get. If you really are 15 minutes in and you can't think of anything, maybe do your introduction and then go back and try planning. By the way, this only applies to maybe 5% of you who barely know anything about the book. For 95% of you, spending 25 minutes planning will do wonders. Alright, my ramblings are really long. These are kind of the key takeaways. Plan your essay in the first 25 minutes, answer the question in a short and concise sentence, plan your paragraphs using the peel structure, and before you start anything, check and improve your essay, because you've essentially written your first draft and you can make changes accordingly, and that's such a powerful thing to have. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I've uploaded this one day before the English language November 2017 exams, and I'm really sorry about that. Hopefully I've showed you how planning can take your essay to the next level. Do not be afraid of just planning in the beginning. It's all worth it when you actually know what to write and you aren't just writing to fill a word count. So hope this all helps, and I know you'll do great. Take care.